Welcome to this first lecture. This is the first of a series of lectures where we are going to master SQL, and then we will move on to master Python, and we will use it to build all sorts of things. It's really important that you really practice it over and over and over. Yes, I know that AI can generate most of the code, but today you will find that it's pretty difficult to get a job if you only use AI but you don't fully understand what the code is doing behind the scenes. When you have a deep understanding, you can rapidly move to another level. Okay. Right now, we are going to use Google Colab so that we don't have to install anything on our computers. We could have installed a database, but I chose to use Colab. So just go to Google, make sure that you have a Google account. And when you come here, you can search for Colab and install it. I already have Colab installed, so I'll just go to Colab. So if you have any doubt, just just search for Google Colab and it's going to take you there. So I'll just type colab.research.google.com. Maybe yours has not been activated. That's no problem. You can install it and just get here. I'll click on New Notebook and I will give it a name once it starts. Okay, here we go. I'll come here, double click, and I'll just call it SQL Lab-1. Now, note SQL is one of the most important things you have to learn if you have to deal with data. It's so important because it's the language you use for databases. Of course, you can use Python, but SQL is key. So you don't just have to know it, you have to know it really well. Okay, you have the option if you want to play around with Gemini, you can play around with it, but I'll just close it and stay there. So what we are going to be using here is the SQLite 3. So just go with me. At the end of the day, I'm going to be sending you my file. Donc, à la fin de la journée, je vais t'envoyer mon fichier. So from time to time, I will throw it a bit of French to make sure you get what I'm saying. Here we go. So I want to import SQLite 3 and also import pandas pd. So once I do that, I will do shift enter. Donc shift et entrée. Donc shift, c'est la clé qui est au-dessus de control. It's the key that is above control. So I'll simultaneously do shift and enter. Else you can come here and just click run. Okay, you can run the cell. It's up to you. You can click there or you just do shift enter. I'll do shift enter and here we go. So it's connecting it. When it's the first time, it may take a few minutes, but after that, it's going to go very fast. Now I have to create the data we will be using in learning SQL. So I'm going to copy and paste this code. You just have to copy and paste it. Don't type it. I will explain the code because this is not really your SQL. This just helps you to really learn it. Okay. So I'll click here in that cell, paste it, and let me rapidly explain. So here you can see it says connect to. So it's a hospital database we are creating. We've imported this library, SQLite. This is for manipulating our data. So here we want to create the SQL database, and this is the name we give to the database. And we want to instantiate what we've created so that we can connect to it. So here we've given the name, so the con, we've used it, instantiated it, and we've decided to give cursor to it. Even if you don't understand now, as we move on, it's going to become clear. Now I say drop table if exists. So this is in case the table already existed. You don't really need to even have this. If you want, you can delete that, but it's just to say in case the table patients already exists, drop it. However, if it doesn't exist, we now have this. Create table patients. So we want to create a table, and these are the different columns we will have. The first column is the patient ID. The second is the name, age, diagnosis, the ward, and the admission date. So this is for a hospital. Now, when we come here, these are the different data sets. So if you look, we have 10 patients. This is the name. This is the ID of the patient. This is the ID here. We have the name of the patient, the name. We have the age. This is the age. We have the diagnosis. This is the diagnosis. We have the ward. And this is the ward. And this is the admission date. That is the admission date. So these are the different columns. This is the first patient, and we have 10 patients. And if you count, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns. So when we come here, we are using a cursor execute many, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For each of the columns, it's going to insert it. And at the end of the day, it's going to print. If you've done it successfully, it will print it. So you don't need to type this, you just need to understand what's going on, and it's going to become clearer as we move on. So Shift Enter to run it, and when you see this, it means you did the right thing, it means you were successful. So now we want to create a function that's going to enable us to start playing with whatever we are doing. We are going to use a Python function. Now, even if you don't fully understand the function, no problem, because soon we will have a Python course where we will see functions. So just get this. So to create a Python function, you always use def. You can give any name. I'll just give the name run query. And within that, I'll just say query. And for any Python function, when you give def and the name and the parameter, you always have to hit enter to go there automatically. So here I will say with SQL. So the SQLite. So here it's actually suggesting things. I'll just hit tab. I don't need this. Well, I need it somehow. So it's telling me that SQLite 3, which is the database I have here. So it should connect to the database I've created as con. So the name of the connection is con. Of course, you can see here we've been using con throughout. And then basically it should return. I won't just say read. I'll use read SQL query. And inside I'll use query con. So that's all we need. I'll hit enter. And then once we come here, we can start using it. So even if you don't understand all of these first steps, you are good. Now we will start using this function, run query. Run query. So basically what I don't need this. I'll just, let me get rid of that. Open, close. Okay, so everywhere we will be using this to run our things. Okay, so all of our SQL, we will learn it within this code. Okay, I'll just copy it and paste it 10 times. So I'll copy that. I'll click on code. Let me click a number of times just to give us some space. And I'll come everywhere. I'll just paste it. I'll paste that, paste it. Because all the code, we will learn our SQL within that. Now, if we had gone to a database, then we will not need to do that. But once we do that, it just makes life pretty easy. I could have used another online method. However, I just want us to stay in Colab so that we don't have to be installing, or we don't have to be learning several things. Okay, here we go. Now we can run a code to just examine this database. Now, generally, we can start with what we call select. We will use a simple select function. Now, for me to do that, generally, you want to say select. I'll select all. I'll use a star from patients. Now, remember, patients is the name of the database. So you are selecting what? Everything from patients. So this is really to say all. So I'll hit Shift Enter, and here we go. So these are all the 10 we had in it. Now you have the option to start filtering or to start deciding what it should present to you. But here we've just used a generic thing so that we can see everything. Now let's go to the next thing. I'll say select. Actually, one of the best ways is to simply say from patients. Okay, you give the name of the table, select. What do you want to select from there? Let's say we want to select the name. And we want to give a condition to filter. We can say where the age is greater than 30. Now, how do we know what to write here? Just look here. We have age. Okay, so let's say you have a question you want to ask for your patients. You want to find the patients who have an age greater than 30 in this particular hospital database. Let's just do Shift Enter, and we can see the ones who are there. What if you want to look for the age and the name, okay, to verify if it did the right job? I'll just put a comma and I'll add an age here, and I'll hit Enter, and that's it. Now make sure at the end you don't put a comma. If you put a comma here, then you end up with an error, okay, because you had a comma there. A comma should not be here. It should be between separating two things. But once you've separated the two things, you don't need a comma again. So I'll run it again, and here we go. So let's take a look at the next one. So this first one is just introducing you to things. When we move to the next set, we will really have fun. We will look at the questions we are trying to answer. I'm just running commands, not presenting questions. When we move to another session, we will see the questions we are trying to answer. Now, what if we are interested in looking at the name, the diagnosis, and we are looking for patients which have certain matricule, certain IDs? So I'll go still with select. We want to see the name. We want to see the diagnosis. And maybe the age. Now, you must write it exactly as it is in the original table. Okay, so we have the name, age, diagnosis in any order, but you must make sure you write it exactly the same. From the database patients, and now we put a condition to filter where the patient ID, let's say it's less than 105. So if you take a look here, you can see the patients which have, how many patients are below 105? These are the patients. So let's run Shift Enter. And here we go. So if we want here, we can even put comma patient ID so that we can see and make sure. There we go. We can see everything is below 105. If you want, you can change it and you put greater than 105, Shift Enter, and you can see it. So it's important to not just repeat this, but play with it. Make sure you fully understand what's going on. we are going to play a lot with it. As I said, SQL is central if you want to really become an expert in analytics, not just a data analyst, but an expert in analytics. And over the months which are coming, we are going to cover everything you need to master to become an analytics expert. So the next one is we want to take select. What if we want to select? Let's just first start with name. From patients. Patients is the name of the table. Where, so we will spend a lot of time with where. The word is, let's say, cardiology. Let me close it. I put it in between this because we are dealing with the text field. Okay, so I'll do Shift Enter, and we can see we have 2 from cardiology. Okay, so if we want, we can, yeah, that's it. We have those 2 people coming from cardiology. Let's have fun with another one. Let's say we don't just want to see their name. We want to see everything concerning them. In this case, I'll say select. I use star. So it will not just give name, it will give all their information from patients where. I will even show you how to use 2 conditions in this case. Okay, let's say patient ID. Is less than 110. Of course, we know that. And so I'll use and is another keyword. Select is a keyword, from is a keyword, where is a keyword, and is a keyword. And the word equals cardiology. Shift Enter. Here we go. So you see we still have this 2. However, this star gives everything. If you just put star here, if you change this to star, it should give you more or less the same thing. Okay, but in this case we are looking at 2 conditions. If you change this, then you will likely have 0. Let's say you say greater than, then you will have nothing because there's no patient that meets those 2 conditions. So let me put this back. There we go. So the next one we want to play with, we want to start presenting what we call aggregations. Okay, where we are looking at summaries. The first one we will look at is count. So we want to use count. We will say count everything. So for example, in a large database, si tu as une base de données très large et tu veux connaître tout, tu veux connaître la totalité des patients, tu utilises count. So if you have a large database and you want to know all the patients which are there, you use count. So I'll use count star. It means count everything. From where? So let me always start with select. It's always select. You always start with select. From, you must tell it where it's coming from. Basically, we want to count all patients, so we can even stop there. Shift Enter. And we can see that we have, these are all the patients. So we have count all patients. Now let's take it to another level and introduce another aggregation thing, which is average. Average is simply la moyenne. So let me go with select AVG. So I'm interested in, let's say, the average age and average age from patients. Now, when you use something like of patients, okay, let me just say Shift Enter. So this is the average ages of all patients. Now, what if I want to put some more specifications? So here we have average age. What if I don't like this title as average age? I'll say as average age. Okay. Shift enter. Now we have this. It's no more that. It's something that makes more sense because I may be using this for my charts in future. Now let's make it a bit more interesting. So I'll still say select count age as average age. Okay, why do I have this space? Did I make a mistake? From patients where the word equals cardiology. So I want the average age. So what it will do is it will go to cardiology, look for all the patients and look for the average of their age. Okay. So I can even say card average age. Now we know. So actually, if this is the average age, sorry, this is AVG. Okay. Not count. That's it. So if you use count, then it has to be the number of patients in cardiology. But here we are interested in the average. Okay, I hope you caught that. It means I'm recording this at night, so I have to make sure I stay alert and not start showing signs of tiredness. So let's continue. This time we want to combine a number of things. I'll use select count star as patient count. And also I want the word from patients. Then I'll use group by. So what it's going to do is it's going to count the number of patients and it will arrange. So it will count all the number of patients, but it's going to group them by word. So shift enter. Here we go. Now you have the different words. You can see we have 5 main words and it has grouped the patients by word. Now for you to say group by, you must have word here. If you get rid of this, let's say this is it, then we have patient count, then we don't really know what it's grouping by. It's difficult to interpret. So, but when you use the same thing you have there, then people can see what you are doing. Okay, because it's important to generate things you are able to interpret easily, else you are just doing nonsense. If people cannot interpret what you are doing, then it's not very helpful. So let's now come here and take another one. So here we've taken count. What if we want to do something similar, but this time play with average? Select AVG is the function. As we move on, we are going to see that you have different aggregation functions. Aggregate age, you cannot aggregate something like this. It will make no sense. You aggregate numerical values or quantitative values. As I'll call this average age, comma, I'll put word because I want to see the average age per word from patients. Then we will say goodbye. What? The best practice is to always close your thing by point virgule. Shift enter. Here we go. So you can see the average age in each of those words. This is it for lab 1. In the next session, we are going to be looking at lab 2. So I'll just delete this. When I post the video, you will also receive this to play with. If you want to save it, it generally saves it automatically. But here you can just come here and click save, and it will save it wherever you want. Generally, it's going to save it within your Google folder. Okay, I'll see you in the next session.